Hello everyone, this is Yuri from Oracle Red Bull Racing Esports, and today we've got a lap guide here for you around Hockenheim for IMSA week 5 on iRacing. This time we're in a Porsche. It's quite tricky, this car. It has a lot of downforce and it has a lot of understeer and oversteer in different places. So let's have a look like how that looks like and how we can use that downforce to our advantage. Right, so here we are in the last sector, starting a lap. And with the Porsche it's the case that we've got a lot of downforce, a lot of rotation into the corners, but not out of the corners. So we have to use the rotation whenever we can. Turn 1, try to spot the curb on the inside and barely hit it. Turn 2, spot the braking mark at around 100. Rotate it in. Heading up to the hairpin. Very long straight, and all we can think about is a braking point, which is just after the green bit on the left is what I use. Heading into the second sector. Try to keep the speed up here. Easy flat through this corner. Stadium section coming up. Try to use 2 wheels on the inside here. Trying to get the rotation going here. Bit of understeer for me. Keep the speed up again here. And then we're at the end of the lap. So here we are at the start of the lap. What we want to look for turn 1 is put our car, the left side tires, on this curb here. We can use that to extend the track a bit, get a better entry for turn 1. And then what you want to look at is this edge of the right curb. This is what you want to aim for. And you don't want to be on top of the curb, but you can kind of clip it. And as long as you kind of clip this, the car doesn't bounce too high. If you go completely over it, in some cars it works. In the Porsche GT3R I found that the car bounces too high and you lose time overall. You want to be on throttle early, and then on the exit here, on the exit curb, you can use all of the curb here. There's only an off track. I think it's the middle of the car around this line, somewhere around there. As long as you're back before this green bit here, you can go quite wide, and we want to make use of that. So this, for example, was on an off track. Then we get to turn 2. There's again 2 options you have in turn 2. You either hug the white line and then you brake, or you go a bit further towards the middle of the track and try to use the curb on the left, this entry, to extend your entry a tiny bit. You can try both things. What I like to do is extend a bit, so go a tiny bit from the white line and then gradually go up on the curb and go to the right. Again, that extends the entry a tiny bit, and that's helpful for getting a bit more exit speed. You will have to brake a tiny bit earlier to do this though. So we brake just before this service road here. Bring it up on the left side and then try to open up this corner as much as possible. And the earlier you can go on throttle here, the better exit you will have onto the back straight, which is a very long straight. On the curb on the inside as well, you can just run over it. It's not too big as long as you have the right angle. If you go over this and kind of hit this bigger bump here, it might upset the car a bit. As long as you've got the right angle here, the curb's quite shallow and you can run over it without losing any traction. Then the whole back straight, you just want to hold it as tight as possible. So close to the curb or even on the curb. Gains you maybe an extra 100 for free. And then comes one of the most tricky corners on the track, I think. The hairpin, the very, very tight hairpin at the end of the backside. I try to brake around this point here, sometimes a bit before, sometimes a bit less, depends on the fuel and the tires that I've got. Again, keep it to the left side, try to open up the corner as much as you can. And what you want to try to avoid as well is going too early for the apex here. So braking too straight for the corner. It will allow you to brake a bit later, but you sacrifice too much of the exit speed, which is very important. So we're braking here, trying to get to the inside, and once we're at the inside, we can start going back in the throttle again. You can use this yellow anti-cut on the left here. I think it's a tiny bit faster to stay off it, but if you go over it, you don't really lose much traction either. So the car is kind of stable over that as well. That is flat out corner here. And what you want to look out for here is setting up the car as quick as possible for the next braking zone. So you want to still open up this corner as much as you can, turn as little as you can, and try to make sure that you're not too far to the left here. If you're not too far to the left, it's easier to line the car up again for the straight line braking for the next left-hander. And the point I use as a reference here to brake is again this tarmac on the right here. Just before where this tarmac starts, I start braking. Same as turn 1, same as turn 2. We want to use this curb on the right side to open up the corner. And then this corner here, in some cars, you might be used to sacrificing this left-hander a bit. I found that in the Porsche now, the car has a lot of downforce for the next right-hander that you can run quite wide here. So keep the speed up, quite wide on exit, and it doesn't punish you in the next corner because you can still take it flat. So try to keep the speed up, run quite wide, bring it back to the left-hand side though, and then try to make sure that you turn in so that your right side tires are on this curb. Not over it, but on it. And that way you should be able to take the corner flat without lifting, without even going over this anti-cut here on the left. And then we get to a very tricky corner in the Porsche, which is corner entering the arena section. And the reason this is tricky is because the Porsche is all the weight in the rear of the car. It's a rear engine car. And once we start slowing down while we're braking here, the rear of the car is going to get light and going to want to step out. So what I want to do, brake quite a lot in a straight line and then go off the brakes quite early. Quite early throttle, and it helps stabilize the rear and helps you carry a bit more speed into the corner, again without losing that rear into the corner. What I like to do here is have two wheels on the green part on the inside. It just helps the car rotating while I'm on throttle. So on corner entry, the car is loose on the rear, but on the corner exit, the car is going to be understeering. And for that, I want to have two tires on the green here, which helps the car rotate a bit more. And then on the exit, we can use a lot of the dirt on the left here. We have two wheels in the gravel, quite a lot even, and even two wheels a bit off there through the grass. It won't give you an off track. The only thing you have to watch out for again is if you run too wide here, the car will understeer and you'll have problems lining the car for the next corner. So run the car to the right. I use this bit here, the change in tarmac as a braking point. Again, I brake just before that. Try to brake close to the curb here. And because this is a banked corner, our aim here is try to get the weight on the front and get the car rotating. Because once we go into the throttle, the car will want to understeer wide again. So go into the corner here, try to get rotation in the car. And you see that at this point here on my lap, I didn't quite have the rotation in the car that I wanted to. So I would have had to put more weight on the front. What happens here is that on the point I want to go on throttle, I don't have quite the rotation yet and the car understeers wide. And I'm almost on the gravel on the right side. If I had more rotation in the car, I would have been able to keep it a bit tighter, maybe even go a bit quicker on throttle. Then we get to the last corner, and the last corner is very tricky, just like a couple corners ago entering the stadium section, where the rear is very loose on entry. So you have to make sure we brake quite a lot before we do most of the turning, and then let the car roll into the corner. But you see immediately when I press the brake while turning, the rear is starting to step out, and I'm even counter-steering a tiny bit. If you look at my wheel inputs here. And slowly into the corner, slow throttle input helps stabilize the rear. Bring the car out to the left. On the left here, you can either avoid this anti-cut or go completely over it. And that's the biggest mistake I did in this lap, is that I was in the middle. So I didn't completely go over it, I didn't completely avoid it, and that caused a lot of understeer in the second part of the corner here. What you normally want to do is clip this inside green, get a bit of rotation in the car. Again, I was right on the anti-cut here while turning in, which made my car understeer, and I missed it. And at corner exit, you can again, just like in the stadium section, you could run very wide. Even this time I took this line here, it wasn't an off track. Of course, it slows you down a bit, but you can run very wide until you get an off track, and we want to make use of it as well. And then flat out to the line until you start your new lap. So that was the Coach Dave Academy lap guide for the Hockenheimring in the Porsche 991. Hope you guys learned something. And if you want more guides like this, make sure to check out the other videos on the channel and make sure to subscribe as well.